Yo, what is going on, everybody? How are we all doing? Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've jumped on here to talk about anything related to male problems, male issues. But I watched Adolescence over the weekend, and I'm not gonna lie, I felt inspired. I thought, what a drama, you know, what bravery in writing something like that, in putting it together. Like, big up Stephen Graham and everyone else that was involved in creating and producing that, because I felt like that just really shone a light on a societal problem in a very human way. You know, I think often when it comes to anything to do with like the problem that young boys are facing and that men are facing, it's always we just demonize, and we tend to just demonize young men and demonize men in general. And like, as fantastic as it was seeing that and like seeing all the positive reactions to Adolescence, so much of what I've been listening to people saying is it's almost like, you know what, finally someone's shining a light on toxic masculinity, you know, like someone finally pointing out like what's happening to our young men, you know, with these toxic influences. And like that, for me, that's just, you're not seeing the problem. The toxic influences in these toxic spaces online are symptoms of a much larger problem, which is that we're not hearing anything positive at all. There are no positive voices out there, no positive influences, no positive influencers, you know. And like, at the end of the day, you can tell someone till the cows come home, like, don't listen to that, you shouldn't be listening to that, or like try and ban these dudes. Like, all that's going to do is make them more alluring, you know, make it a more attractive prospect. What we really need to do is offer out something different. Yeah, buddy? What? Not now, in a minute. And until we are able to take this problem and reframe it, like, stop. The focus is always on negativity when it comes to men, you know. We don't, like, when, for example, like toxic masculinity, when was the last time anyone heard masculinity mentioned when it wasn't being called toxic? I don't think I've ever heard masculinity mentioned unless it's in relation to its toxicity. And that there is the problem. Young men don't hear anyone, or there's nowhere where they are being celebrated, or men are being celebrated and boys are being celebrated. All we hear is men being, you know, men being stripped down, and the focus on these, like, this very small minority of men. The focus is always on the minority and never on the majority. Where is, as a society, when are we promoting fathers? When are we're shining lights on men doing positive things and the positive contributions that men make to society? Until we start doing that, these toxic influences, these toxic influences are going to be where our young boys turn. Now, come on, you boys. Hey, stop. Come on. Off you get.
She was holding my neck.
Okay.
She was holding him.
I know, I saw. That's why I came. Well, why don't you get away from him, because he's coming again. Yeah, until we are able to completely reframe how we look at, treat, and talk about boys and men, all we're going to do is we're going to keep pushing them into the hands of these and into these dark spaces, because there's no light out there. No one's shining a light on the positive stuff. Therefore, for example, if you only ever hear negative things said about you, people, and well, let me just even delve into it deeper. Where's the spaces for young men to talk about their problems, for young boys to share what they're going through? You know, we give them this ultimatum. We're like, we want young men to be more compassionate, more empathetic. We want them to be more connected to their emotions and be more willing to speak about their problems. Where are they meant to be doing this? When are they meant to be doing this? Then, so on the one hand, we're telling young men and boys we want them to be more connected to their emotions. And then on the very other hand, we're like, whoa. Men are privileged and have been given every opportunity available to them in life. They've had a head start, so what are you complaining about? Now, anyone out there that is I tell you now, if you as a man start complaining, or even me here talking about male issues, the amount of people that gets their hackles up, because, well, what problems? Men are privileged. Well, how can it be in the same breath? How can it be that men need to connect to their emotions because they're unable to reflect on how they're feeling? And then in the very other hand, when they do, it's like, well, we don't want to hear it. In fact, you know what? Like, think about all the different names that we have for men who are too emotional. Sissy, pansy, mama's boy, wimp. Like, these aren't words that men call other men. This is what society tells us about men that are too emotional. And until we create safe spaces for boys to talk about their problems without making them feel like, you know, they're, you know, I don't know, like they need to man up. And I don't even like using that word, but we as a society are getting it all wrong. And something like Adolescence comes along and shines a light on the impact of how this approach, the impact of this approach and what it's doing to young men. And everyone's like, oh yeah, it's just proof. Toxic masculinity is rife and we need to do something about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is not the fucking problem. Andrew Tate is a symptom of the problem. And the problem is, where is the positive male voices? Where are the platforms shining a light on all the great things that men do? You know, I'm a dad, I've got 2 children. I love my boys. I take brilliant care of them. I try my hardest to be the best father I can be. My role in my family is one that's overlooked. You know, the role of a father within his family is to take his children and turn them, face them to the outside world and show them all the problems that they're going to come up against and the struggles that they will face when out in the big, bad, wide world. But we don't glorify fatherhood. We don't thank fathers. You know, we need a complete overhaul with how we deal with men. And if you want to know what's going to continue to happen if we don't change, well, just watch Adolescence, because we hear about things like this happening, and again, we hear about these things happening all the time. But the reality is, if you actually look at the stats, these are again a minority, a small minority, and all the focus is on this stuff. But the problem is, we have framed men within a toxic world. And every element of how we talk about them, how we describe them, how we reflect on them, what we tell them about themselves, it's all negative. And until that changes, men won't change. So let's begin the change. Let's something like Adolescence be a tool with which to inspire us to look to how we can do better.